Yo, what's up guys? Alexis here. And in today's video, I'll be giving you 5 tips on how to build your social life here in Australia. Please like and subscribe below for the YouTube algorithm. It would help my channel a ton. And let's jump on to the video. A common problem that I notice with international students is that once they arrive here in Australia, they find their little group of friends from the exact same culture, speaking the exact same language, and doing basically the exact same things. While, there's nothing wrong with that. The issue they will face is that, they are limiting themselves to that little bubble. They stay in their comfort zones, and they're too afraid to go out into the unknown, where endless opportunities are, and usually that's where you meet one of the most amazing people you might have so much in common with and you never knew existed. So I understand how hard and scary it is to leave everything you knew and everyone you've ever known to start, with a clean slate in a different country, especially a hustling, bustling, diverse city like Melbourne. It can be daunting, especially coming from a collective culture like the Philippines or India or China, where you're used to doing everything with a group of people, your own tribe, your family, and your friends. But you also have to admit how thrilling that is. No one knows you here. You have no childhood friends who know about that one embarrassing thing that you did when you were a kid. No social pressure to act a certain way when you're around, your conservative family back home. You're your own person here. You have full accountability of your actions, your mistakes, and your results. So, tip number 1, talk to someone in university. Since you're an international student, I assume you go to university. And at the beginning of each term or semester, there is an orientation. Back in March 2019, that was my first orientation here in Australia. This is when I first moved here, and I went to one. I was surprised that while I was in line, 95% of the students there were Indians, and they were already grouped up and talking to each other in Hindi, and I felt so alone in this strange place. And I was expecting to be surrounded by Australians who speak English, and I'd be confident to make friends because I'm fluent in English. So while I was in line, I saw a lady wearing a hijab, and she looked like she came from the Middle East, I assumed. We both randomly smiled at each other and struck a conversation. She's actually a local Aussie, complete with the Aussie accents. She was born and raised here, and I thought she was an international student. She was super nice. She even said that she thinks that Filipinos are the prettiest Asians, and complimented my English speaking skills. Until now, she's a really good and close friend of mine. We had so much in common. I didn't feel so alone in this strange place filled with foreign people. Now, if I stayed in my comfort zone, I would not have struck a conversation with her. But I was determined to make my first day in uni a fun and memorable one. I took control and pushed myself. So, tip number 1 is simply talk to someone. Talk to someone with you in the tram, or in the cafe, or just walking around admiring the beauty of Melbourne. There's a lot of people doing the same. Just walk up to them and say hi. Tip number 2, join an online community. There are a lot of Facebook groups out there for international students, even specialized ones for people of your nationality. I'm in the Filipino students in Melbourne, or Pinoys in Melbourne. I once saw some lady post there. She said, naghahanap ng kainuman, wala akong friends, baka naman. So that translates to looking for someone to drink with. I have no friends, maybe someone wants to go and have a drink with me. And the comment section exploded, got flooded, man. So many other people feel the same way. Now, maybe you're not looking to make friends with people the same nationality as you, since after all, you're not looking you traveled all this way, to get out of the homogenous society you came from. Hence, maybe join a sports group or a board game group. Don't be afraid to be the first to strike up conversation. Tip number 3, download the MeetUp app. Now, MeetUp hasn't been able to operate well since COVID, but pre-COVID times, that's where I met one of my closest friends that I have now. Since I'm a gamer, I love video games and board games. Now, board games will allow me more face-to-face experience with people, so I drove straight into the thriving board game community of Melbourne. There were 3 different MeetUp board game groups operating just in Melbourne CBD alone. I used to go every Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I played so many fun and intricate board games I never knew existed, and I met so many of my fellow nerds and geeks passionate about winning and outsmarting the competition. There are also MeetUp events for simple things like walking around the botanic gardens or going on a 5-kilometer hike in the Grampians. There will always be a group for everything. You just have to go out and experience every opportunity. Tip number 4, go to events or public facilities. Melbourne will always have one, whether it be a large party or a posh art exhibit or an AFL game in the Melbourne cricket grounds. This city has it all. There will always be something going on. You meet so many different people of different backgrounds. Just get yourself out there. You won't meet anyone locking yourself up in your room. And frankly, as much as I love solitude, locking yourself up in your room will get boring and depressing eventually. You have to take care of yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's your job. Remember, you're accountable for yourself here. Mom and dad aren't here to take care of you. Your childhood friends who always drive you home after you get shit-faced drunk at some club aren't here. People here are friendly. Just start a conversation with them. The best thing about events is that you can start conversations just talking about the event that the two of you are in. Tip number 5, meet your friends' friends. Now, I've discussed before, a lot of international students end up staying in their own little culture bubble. And I have a lot of Indian friends. Because when my uni friend Dipesh asked me to join him in going to his other friend's birthday party, I went, even though I knew everyone there was gonna be Indian and most of them only knew how to speak Hindi. I went and I met a lot of cool people. I learned a lot about, Indian culture, and I really learned to love Indian food. And another one is with my friend Malini. She's a local, Aussie, and we met at the board game event. Ever since COVID, all the board game events stopped, and I was so sad. She informed me of an online board game group she goes to and invited me. Now, we're a tight-knit group who plays Blood on the Clock Tower. It's a social deduction game, probably the best ever made. Now, with the same people, we organize almost monthly a meetup. Anywhere, whether it be at Fortress Melbourne, or hanging out at someone's home, or going to fun little adventure rooms. So overall, it's just networking. Use what you already have. We're all social beings, regardless of where you come from, what language you speak. It never hurts to try. I've met a few Koreans and Vietnamese people in board game events that barely speak English, but through playing board games with us, they learn so much. I appreciate their courage and resilience. It takes so much guts to, just travel to a different country, not knowing at least a word of English, and just learning from there, and like really throwing yourself into the coals. It's really beautiful to see. Humans are amazing, man. And that wraps up my 5 tips to building a social life here in Melbourne. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button for the YouTube algorithm. Let's make sure other struggling international students will be able to see this and help them out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.